Welcome to the Straight Red Card. That was kind of a weird intro.
But you get that whole grunge growl going on there. Get that vocal fry.
I know. I had like a frog in my throat. It was weird. Anyhow, I think it's all cleared up. And hey, welcome to the show. Thank you for subscribing. And I mean, we're just shooting things up the ladder here. It's really nice. Could have turned out worse the way I said that sentence.
We're shooting things up.
Up the ladder. Anyhow, yeah. So keep subscribing, keep sharing it with your friends. That seems to be making a big difference. There are guys out there like is it American Berliner or Berlin American?
Berlin American. Yeah.
Taylor. Yeah, I'm really bad with Twitter hooks or names or whatever. And yeah, I mean, he's been really out there doing almost PR work for us, I have to say.
Yeah.
So keep doing that.
Boots on the ground.
It is, and it helps us like the show, and visit our Patreon if you're interested in supporting the show. And we're still working on that, so still in progress. Again, folks, I mean, just 3 months ago, we were getting like 300 views of video. So, now we're almost always above 1,000, arching towards 2,000. So give us time. We're growing. It's been 7 years since we've been doing shows. So, we're still also, no, we're not. We're as good as we ever were. All right. We're doing the overview.
Even drunker. Yeah.
Yes. And that intro I just did was just about as long as the pregame for the match versus Mexico in the Gold Cup finals. So I had inadvertently read a disinformation on the internet that said the pregame would start at 8:30. The game would start at 9. So we were just finishing up dinner for my birthday at my parents' house, and and my brother texts me that the game or the pregame's already started, and he texted that to me at 8:05, and I'm like, what? They're going to do an hour pregame? An hour? Are you kidding me? An hour? Oh, and so I had to immediately get my notebook, go to the TV, turn it on, because we cover the coverage, right?
Yeah,
we do. And why do we do that, Brett? Why do we cover the coverage?
We got to know what our enemies are saying.
Yes.
They're not enemies, but we got to know what everybody's saying.
You do, because you have to understand that what people are watching on TV, like my brother, who's a casual fan, supporter, that's what they're going to get. That's the information they're going to get leading into the game. That this is the most important tournament that ever existed. It's so important. Alexi Lalas is going to cry after we win it. That's how important this is.
It was a nice moment. I liked it.
Really?
Yeah, I got a little emotional. It's fine. It's great. Yeah, takes him back to his playing days. He understands it. It's fine.
My mom was laughing. She said, "What's wrong with him?" Why is he crying?
I think he was getting emotional because he was right at the beginning of the tournament. He said that, or maybe even after the Haiti game, he said that Turner's in contention for that number 2. I thought it was perfectly fine that Lawless was getting a little emotional about it. It takes him back to his days of playing and how much it means to grind and really work for it and come away with a result, especially against a team where a lot of people wrote them off, and to some extent, we did to some point. I mean,
yeah,
actually winning the tournament, I thought was out of reach, but getting to the finals could have been, But look what we did.
I mean, I guess that's the way Lawless reacted was the best of the two options.
Option going, I fucking told you so.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. There were two options there. He's so happy for the players that he cries, and we all think, oh, that teddy bear. And then the other option is, I told you, stupid dicks, that we were going to do good, and you didn't listen. And that,
but the C team, it's a C team.
yeah, he really hated that people were calling it the B-
No.
or C team.
So-
And he wanted to stick it in Adu's eye.
Hey, again, it was a nice moment. Got to hand it to him on that.
All right. Well, I'll tell my mom to shut up next time.
Yeah.
All right.
My co-host Brett, he told me to tell you to shut up.
That's right.
I still want to meet. I still want to go over there and have steaks and ride
No,
the
I'm
boat,
not going
man.
to. Yeah, I am not going to tell my parents you told her to shut up, Brett. You will not be invited over. This is a very stern German woman.
He lies. No.
All right. But I guess the big question is, and this is the same question that they discussed kind of in a different way, in a more specific way, but what does this win mean? And I think it just means Mexico aren't very good, and our B team is, or C plus team is a lot better than anybody thought. Or am I wrong?
Well, the team is definitely not. The Mexican team is definitely not firing on all cylinders, and I know that they're going to say that this wasn't our full A team, pretty much an A team, like Pete mentioned in his post game.
Close enough.
Too. This is like an A- B plus team for them. They're missing a couple of players. Some got injured. Sure, okay, whatever. But you still lost to our team. So I mean, what does it mean? I mean, it means a lot just for this team, especially to win it. Some of these players are making a name for themselves and possibly making themselves available for the World Cup qualifying coming up here soon.
Yeah.
So I thought the result was great, and this was very. I thought this was very important, especially if you want to make yourselves known as, the kings of CONCACAF.
I mean, in the scheme of existence, it means nothing. But in the in the scheme of the universe, it means nothing. In this scheme of our existence as little, living creatures on this planet, who care about soccer, it was important to see it. And it was important to see some of these players grow into what could be very strong backup positions. And in Hoppy's case, maybe a starter. As the new gunslinging Dempsey of this generation. So I thought there was enough there. There was enough meat on the bone that you can take something serious away from this. You don't have to just denigrate it, or you shouldn't just ignore it. I think we saw some things, and we'll get into some of those things as we go on. But is it in fact bigger than our win at the Nations League? I don't know, Brett. I mean, I don't know if it is.
I think to some extent they both have merit on their own. I don't think one's bigger than the other. I think the Gold Cup, obviously, great to win, especially great to beat Mexico again. And again, it's winning back-to-back tournaments again against Mexico is definitely a great thing, and it has to be getting in their heads. As we're going into World Cup qualifying. It's just something that's going to be lingering there. Not saying that Mexico is going to come into a game against us, fearing for a loss, but it's going to be in there. If 30 minutes into the game, they don't have a goal or two on us and they're still dominating, but we're still kicking it, then it's got to be playing all on repeat back in their minds.
That's the most important part people should take away from it. Of course, an idiot like me thinks, well, why does some person cry when we win the Gold Cup, but doesn't cry when we win the Nations League?
Yeah.
And does that reflect something? Is that more reflective of him as an individual and the way and who he is? Or are there other people that feel that way too? And I don't want to get too deep in feelings. I just don't know why the win at Nations League isn't thought of as like, that's a big win too. Because it is, and it shouldn't be diminished by the Gold Cup win. And I'm happy for all those guys, but it shouldn't be diminished. And that gets us into what's going to happen to Tata, right? Mexico's lost the Nations League. He's lost against us in Mexico's lost against us in the Gold Cup. I mean, people are saying Tata, the Mexican press is going nuts and saying, he brought in this Funes Mori guy. He was fine. And when it didn't matter, but when it mattered, he wasn't fine. I mean, Tata, Argentinian, and Funes Mori are getting pooped on right now, but they're going to survive, I think.
Yeah. I mean, well, it was, I don't know if they're going to survive, to tell you the truth.
You think Tata's getting fired?
I sent you a text, a stat they brought up during the pregame or halftime show or something like that.
Yeah.
Where, they said Mexico has had 10 coaches in this century. So in the last 21 years,
none of them were Tata.
Doesn't matter.
Tata,
most
guy was the man managed Barcelona.
And I'm just saying they have a quick turnover rate there. I mean, some of those may have been a lot quicker than others, and others may have had a longer stints. But they have quick turnover, and they if they're not getting the results that they're expecting, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I think even Pete brought this point up. I mean, this Mexican team played in the Nations League, and then they played in the Gold Cup. The players that weren't at the Gold Cup are over in the Olympics, and now they're going to be coming into World Cup qualifying, beaten and battered. And if Tata doesn't get that shit in order, then who knows? It may be a repeat session of 2014 World Cup qualifying for Mexico, where it required a last game win by the U.S. just to keep them in the playoff realm.
Now, if Mexico keeps Tata, that's not going to happen. If they fuck around with this and fire him and hire a new coach for qualifying, that might bite them in the ass. But I think this Mexican team, clearly qualifies for the World Cup with the setup and
one
players.
Would think so, but we've all seen stranger things.
Well, we've seen stranger things, but I think they have to keep Tata because you just don't do that going into qualifying. As you said, however, the Mexican Federation's known to do weird shit. They might do it. But in this case, I don't think they will. I think they think their number one goalkeeper is still the older Ochoa. And I think he's over in the Olympics.
Yes.
And, Lanez is the player of the future for Mexico. He's over in the Olympics. He's not playing for this team. So I do think there were some pieces missing.
Sure.
And I think, not to make excuses for Tata, I'm not, but I don't think I think they would be fools to fire him, is what I'm saying. That's all. But you know what? Filippo brought up a good point too. And he said the Mexican fans and media think too highly of their players. And that's why they're going to blame the manager when they lose. And I think that's a good point. And what his point was, your team's not that good. It's just not that good. And I agree with that. So I don't think this is the Mexican teams we've seen in the past. I don't, especially with some of their major pieces missing. They got a center forward at Wolverhampton that's coming back, but he's at Wolverhampton. He's not playing in the Olympics or the Gold Cup. And, if he's the same player he was before he got the massive head injury at Wolverhampton, then he's going to be a major piece for them too.
Well, so look at even Chicharito could be stepping up too. He's coming into form with LA.
Yeah, I don't think Tata rates Chicharito. I don't. So I think his national team days, as long as Tata is there, is over, because Chicharito should have been either on the Olympic team as one of the older players, the over U23 players, or on this team in the Gold Cup. And he wasn't.
Great point. Why wouldn't they have done that and then made their Gold Cup team stronger? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah. I don't think he rates him. So, then we move on to some of the details in the game. I thought the ref was the most sensitive son of a bitch I've ever seen. Every 50-50 play ball was somebody got called for a foul.
Let's call it out for what it is. It wasn't sensitive universally. It was sensitive one way. I mean, almost every single call went Mexican's way.
I agree with that.
the only redeeming factor from this ref was, even though he was call happy, he wasn't card happy. That could have made a bigger difference, because man, it's like 20 some odd fouls in the first half against from us, and I would say probably about 60-70% of those were not fouls.
No, I mean, there were so many non-fouls that were called as fouls with two guys battling for a ball. And it just, as you said, the calls always went against us. And my mom and I are watching the game, and we're like, what the hell is going on here? It just seemed like we got all of the calls. Like we were the ones that got called for. And I'm not saying that, we were cheated. I just think this referee was, as you say, as I say, I think he was a little overly sensitive, but his bias was on one side. He needed to put on a condom or something and be less sensitive and be more fair. How about that?
Yeah. Bro, quit blowing your load, man. Come on.
Well, it took him a long time to do that because he's only pulling out cards at the end. All right. So the ref called a pretty pussy game. We agree on that. What does this say about Berhalter at this point?
You know what? This is hard. I mean, I feel like he made some of the better decisions with the players that he brought, especially his last couple games. I thought last night's game, because this is Monday currently. I thought once again, similar to how we went against Qatar, I felt like the first half was basically just weathering the storm. And I thought it was a brilliant plan. One thing I don't think anybody really mentioned is what happens when you play Mexico and it's a 0-0 tie going into halftime or later into the second half, is they start getting frustrated. They start getting chippy. They start making bad decisions, poor plays, and they hold on to the ball. They get complacent. And then that's when we
tired.
pounce. Yeah.
They get tired too because they're older.
I mean, and unlike Qatar, they do have a bench that they can rely on. But saying that, as the game's progressing, they're under a bit of pressure in the sense that they're expecting to beat us. Flat out, given the last 4 years, give or take. They're expecting to walk into this game, put a couple in the goal, and be fine. But as the game's progressing and it's 0-0, longer and longer, and then all of a sudden in the second half we start getting more and more chances. They're getting placed on their heels. They're making poor passes, poor decisions. Keepers' clearances are awful, and it's just I said this during the Qatar game, but I feel like that was Berhalter's game plan. Weather the storm initially, take your chances if you get him, Areola. But
yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah,
but take your chances when you get them. But let's have sound defense, Sands, and then and then just move on with that. And then as the game's progressing, you start taking more and more chances, because at that point it's opening up. And that's exactly what happened. That happened against Qatar. That happened now.
The only thing I would pull back on everything you said there was the arrogance. You didn't use the word arrogance of the Mexican team.
I said complacency. Sorry. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think they knew this was going to be a battle. I think the players did. The players knew. I think they expected to win, but unlike the old days before the era where we were winning 2-0 all the time or whatever against them, and this is going back some time, like there wasn't the jocularity and, picking a guy up off the ground and having a good chuckle with the opponent. Like Mexican players didn't do that with our players. Yeah. Like they're like, fuck off, you fleas.
You're referring to the with the Turner and in the first half. What was that play?
Yeah, not only Turner. Like if you watched around, everyone was extremely cordial to one another the whole game. There was really no nasty, lethal attacks by anybody or tackles. Not on purpose. I mean, a dude did get kicked in the head, but I don't think that was on purpose. but I just think there's an actual more of a mutual respect between even our C team and this Mexican A- team. I mean, I think that's changed. And I know I'm getting in the heads of some of the players here, but that's what I see now when I watch Mexico and the United States play.
Just
After
because
the
you can do it with Berhalter does not mean you can get in the heads of everybody else. So
I'm just saying,
yeah.
I see there was mutual respect out there, except for Matthew Hoppe, who was talking shit all game to the other team.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I thought what made this team work in the end was the heart, the grittiness, and then just the balls to the wall effort that they put into it. You know, they may have made bad plays, bad passes, but 9 times out of 10 they would try to get their ass back and, you know, try to dispossess Mexico immediately. So I mean, I thought that was probably the redeeming factor, and probably why we stayed in as long as we did, is because we out hustled them as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was an exciting match. I felt great after the game was over. I felt great for the guys that put in all the effort. But then again, there's a long trek ahead of us. It's kind of how I felt. I was like, now the real games start, qualifying. So I hope Greg learned a lot, because there are a lot of games coming up that are going to be so fucking more important than this Gold Cup game.
Mm-hmm.
But the Gold Cup game was still important in that it built, I think, a lot of confidence in some of these players.
I did want to bring up, I know we're getting up there in time. I did want to bring up a couple players in particular, even outside of the grades and the stock.
Yeah.
Because I think this is become, some things have become apparent over the past couple games, I think.
You're right.
So I wanted to start off with talking about Leggett.
Yeah.
I think he's still a very serviceable midfielder, but I think this Gold Cup has really started to expose his weaknesses. Whereas when he plays with our A squad, they're not exposed, because you have a McKinney or an Adams that are behind him or around him that are picking up the pieces. Whereas now he doesn't have that. He's expected to be this leader, this talented player, but he's slower now as he's aging, and it's just it's there, but it's not all there. So I just think when we're relying on him to be the leader, it wasn't there. It wasn't enough.
He has gone from what he would usually probably think of as a pacemaker, someone who's controlling the flow of the game, to kind of a chicken shit. And that
always
guy
passing backwards.
He's never, I mean, listen, does he make some passes forward? Yeah, on occasion he does. Did he do that in this game? Yes, he did. But I think generally he's too conservative. And maybe he, as the father figure role on this team, he had to play that role. But yeah, he kind of
I think it's okay to be that type of conservative player when you have the better players around you. Not taking anything away from the players on the squad, but when you have McKinney and Adams who are going to be pushing the game forward, having Leggett out there, if he can't make the forward pass, being able to go backwards to one of them is still an acceptable thing. But again, when you're reliant on him to be one of the key focal points of the team, I thought some of his weaknesses started showing. So
yeah,
nothing against the guy. I like him, and I've always liked him from his youth and everything. But come on.
Yep, me too. But I think he might not be ready for. Well, anyway, we'll get into that down the road. Who's in the depth going forward, but yeah, he's one of the things that stood out. I think Acosta stood out as becoming a real candidate for a backup for Adams.
I think it's guaranteed at this point. I mean,
yeah,
he's going to be the backup to Adams, absolutely.
And then if Hoppe isn't in the discussion going forward, it's just ridiculous to me. Whether you want to play him out wide or at center forward, honestly.
Yeah, I think that he's an interesting player because he can play so many positions in that front three. I think he's going to be beneficial, and we've talked about it before, having him playing as a center striker alongside of say a Pulisic or an Aronson or a Reyna, depending on who's going to be up there with him. But I think that'll be an absolutely deadly trio. But he absolutely needs to be in contention. And quite frankly, when you're talking about center forwards at this point, I think he's absolutely up there in the talking point.
And this goes way beyond his ability and his skill.
Mm-hmm.
It is about his bulldog attitude.
His drive.
Dude is a baller.
Yep.
He wants to play. He wants to kick ass. And notice Greg Berhalter wasn't going to yank him in this game. Oh no, that would have been an ugly sideline scene. But and then Turner, those are the big ones. I think Turner's solidified himself as probably the best ball stopper at goalkeeper that we have right now.
I've definitely got as much confidence in him as anybody else at this point.
I think he's the best ball stopper. I really do. Although, my mom was like, well, what about that other guy? And I said, Ethan Horvath? Oh, yeah, him. He's really good, too. I'm like, yeah, he really is. But Turner's clearly in this conversation going forward.
Well, and I think Filippo brought this point up. Turner's playing game in, week out. I think when it comes to Horvath and Stefan, I think we're going to have to wait and see. Because we have World Cup qualifying coming up here in August. And we need to make sure that our goalkeeper, whoever's in charge there, is sharp. And we have two goalkeepers that haven't played since Nations League.
Yeah, we don't know if Horvath is going to play for Nottingham Forest and how much right away. Mm-hmm. And we do not know Stefan staying at Man City, what that'll look like for him next season. But we do know that Matt Turner is going to play every single game for the Rebs. But I would like to see Matt begin to poke around with his agent in looking at clubs overseas. And I know everyone in the championship and the Premier League, less the championship, are looking not only for ball stoppers, but guys who can, do little tricks and dribbles with their feet and shit. But listen, if you want a guy who's going to keep the ball out of the net, that's Matt Turner. If you want to play, If you want to play,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want to play fiddly fuck ball in the backfield, then Turner's not your guy. But Turner will stop the other team from scoring. Period.
I feel like if you're talking about Premier League teams, the wanting to play out of the back type of with your feet goalkeepers, definitely the top third, maybe even top half to an extent, but mid-table. I mean, at that point, they're looking. Most teams mid-table in the top leagues are really just looking to stay in each game in contention. So having a solid shot stopper may outweigh that. Regardless, he needs to look soon because he's 26. He should still have plenty of years ahead of him. Actually.
Oh yeah,
so
10.
That's beside the point.
Yeah,
I did want to bring up a couple other players real quick.
Okay,
and I'll speed through this quickly because again, this is going to be a long segment now.
God damn it, Brett.
I think, quite frankly, Areola is just not as fast as he was prior to his injuries. He's not nearly as creative for being a slow winger. So he can get in spots, and he had 2 or 3 clear chances on goal against Mexico. Didn't put any away though, but I just don't think he's as dangerous as he used to be. He's still getting serviceable, and I would probably still started him, but just like Legit, I think we're noticing some weaknesses.
He's definitely lost some straight line speed, but his biggest loss is his quickness. He can't make quick cuts anymore, Areola. Yep.
So
spaghetti legs.
I did also want to bring up Williamson. I thought he the knock he took in the head in the first half sort of made things groggy, and he was in and out of that first half. But I thought that second half it cleared up, and he had a good second half. And I stand by what I said the previous game, or even just a preview of the Mexico game, is I hold Williamson higher than Busio at this point.
Yes, for sure. Busio is played himself off of that this last match versus Mexico by being simply naive. And he's putting in a lot of effort, but he's a little naive, and he doesn't like to try stuff. He just wants to be competent. And at his age, he needs to want to try stuff and say, fuck, I will. I am. He needs to believe he is competent and that he can do more than be competent.
Man, that drop off whether it was Zardis or Hoppy, I'm not sure who did it, but that drop off from the PK spot to the top of the 18 to Busio, and Busio lined up a shot to rip, and I'm like, oh yeah, here it comes, and shit,
Nope.
fuck that one up.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
and we'll get into more of those specifics on the players when we do the review of each of the individual players. But yeah, yeah, the guy, yeah, we don't need to get any further into that.
In ending comment here, great
Yep.
results, ugly
Yep.
at times, but
Yep.
the heart and desire that the team put forth made it for me. When Robinson got that goal at the very end of the game, oh my God, I was just like, thank God we voided PKs. We deserved it at the end. It was there, and we got it. So props to this team. They did great. Ish.
Yeah, it was the little engine that could, and it did.
Bunch of 1-0 games this tournament.
I mean, yeah, there's gonna be some sort of meme on 1-0 games now here, because that's apparently our thing.
Uno y cero.
It doesn't have the same ring, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But you know what? I'll live with it. And if we can win every fucking game in qualifying 1-0, I'll live with that too.
Yeah, us.
Exactly. Until the next time on the Straight Red Card, keep watching, keep subscribing, keep commenting. As you notice, Brett and I are we listen. It's not about the size of your britches. It's just whether or not you're interested in what people have to say. And we care what you have to say. So keep saying shit. All right. We'll see you next time.